Welcome to Kiss and Chapters, where every story begins with a spark and ends with a swoon. If you love heart-fluttering romances, unexpected twists, and characters you'll root for, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep bringing you more sweet, emotional, and unforgettable stories. Let's fall in love with every chapter, together. Chapter 1, The Last Breath. The ceiling above me is white. Too white. It smells of antiseptic and faint flowers that can't quite mask the scent of sickness. My body feels weightless, but not in a way that brings comfort. More like a leaf in the wind about to fall. I can hear the rain against the hospital window. It's steady, rhythmic, and far away, like the world is moving without me. I blink slowly, my eyelids heavy as stone. My fingers twitch against the rough blanket covering me, and the sound of my heart monitor beeps in the background, slow and uneven. No one is here. No one is ever here. I glance toward the empty chair beside my bed. How many nights have I waited like this, clinging to the hope that he would come? That maybe for once Owen Davis, my husband, would remember I exist outside the title of wife he never wanted? But the chair is empty. It has always been empty. I let out a dry laugh that scratches my throat. My body aches in ways I can't describe, weak, feverish, and hollowed out from the inside. The doctor's words echo in my mind, the ones he said 2 days ago when I had begged for honesty. Your condition has worsened, Mrs. Davis. If we can't stabilize you, it may be best to prepare for the worst. The worst. I think I passed worst a long time ago. The worst was loving a man who never looked at me. The worst was fighting for a marriage that only existed on paper. The worst was watching Owen's eyes soften, not for me but for someone else. Her. I close my eyes, and even now she appears in my memory. The elegant woman with long dark hair and a smile that could pull galaxies out of orbit. The woman he never stopped loving. She was the reason he married me. Not out of love, but out of family arrangements and business obligations. I had been a convenient solution, a placeholder in his life while his heart stayed tethered elsewhere. I married him anyway. Because I was a fool. Because I thought, maybe, just maybe, if I loved him hard enough, if I stayed long enough, he would see me. He would choose me. 3 years. 3 years of empty breakfasts, polite nods, and cold silences in a mansion that felt more like a museum. 3 years of hearing his footsteps at night, leaving the house while I stayed awake, pretending not to know he was going to see her. My chest tightens, and for a moment I can't breathe. My hand grips the blanket weakly. The heart monitor stutters, and I wonder if this is it. If this is how it ends. Dying alone. Unloved. Forgotten. Hot tears spill from the corners of my eyes, and I laugh again, broken and bitter. I wasted my life loving a man who couldn't even show up for my last moments. My vision blurs as the rain outside softens into a whisper. Somewhere between consciousness and the dark pull of sleep, a thought blooms. One that feels sharp and reckless. I could go back. Just once. If I could go back, I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't love. I would choose myself. The beeping slows. My breath catches. And then there's nothing. Only darkness. Darkness. Then warmth. I jolt upright, gasping like I've surfaced from deep water. My chest heaves, my hands clench at soft sheets beneath my palms. For a disoriented moment, I expect to see the blinding white of hospital lights and the sharp smell of antiseptic. But instead, sunlight filters through lace curtains. The air smells faintly of lavender and dust. I freeze. This isn't the hospital. My head whips around. My eyes land on the faded wallpaper with tiny blue flowers, the old wooden vanity against the wall, and the framed family photo of my younger self smiling at a graduation ceremony. A memory from years ago. I swallow hard, my heart hammering. My trembling fingers reach for the nearest object, the alarm clock on my nightstand. The time blinks at me in bold red numbers. But it's not the time that makes my breath catch. It's the date. No, I whisper. My voice shakes. No, this isn't possible. The numbers on the clock declare the truth. I'm 3 years in the past. The day of my wedding. My pulse roars in my ears. Slowly, I push away the blanket and swing my legs off the bed, my bare feet touching the familiar cool wood of the floor. My body feels lighter, stronger. Gone is the weakness, the constant fatigue that clung to me in the hospital. I stumble toward the vanity and grip its edges. My reflection stares back. A younger me with brighter eyes, smoother skin, and no traces of the illness that ate me alive in my last days. A shiver runs through me. I came back, I whisper to the girl in the mirror. The girl I used to be. The girl who, in just a few hours, will marry Owen Davis and start the most miserable 3 years of her life. I grip the vanity tighter, the surge of bitter memories almost knocking me to my knees. I see it all again, every lonely breakfast, every late night waiting, every tear I swallowed in the dark. Never again. A knock at the door startles me. Reese. My mother's voice floats through, warm and excited. Sweetheart, it's time to start getting ready. The Davises will be here soon. My stomach twists. In my last life I'd smiled at those words, giddy and nervous, oblivious to the heartache ahead. Now I feel nothing but resolve. Coming, Mom, I manage to say, voice steady this time. My hand drifts to the small jewelry box on the vanity, the one holding the engagement ring Owen had given me, cold and impersonal. A ring I'd worn like a shackle for 3 years. Not this time. I open the box, staring at the glittering diamond that once made me cry with joy. Now it just looks like a chain. Slowly I close the lid. I already know what I'm going to do. The morning passes in a blur. Makeup artists fuss over me, my mother chatters excitedly, and bridesmaids flit around with dresses and flowers. I let them, silent and detached, like I'm watching someone else's life unfold. Every minute brings me closer to the moment I've been waiting for, not to say I do, but to walk away. When the time comes, the room empties, leaving just me and the heavy silence of the bridal suite. Another knock. Deeper. Colder. Reese, a familiar voice says. It's me. My chest tightens involuntarily. In my first life I would have leapt to the door, heart racing with love and desperation. Now I walk slowly and open the door. And there he is. Owen Davis, in a black suit, hair perfectly styled, his handsome face as unreadable as ever. Those gray eyes that once stole my breath, now only remind me of the nights I cried waiting for him to come home. He glances at me and I see a flicker of something, maybe surprise at how calm I look, but it vanishes under his usual indifference. It's time, he says, voice clipped. Yes, I say softly. I step forward and he holds out his arm. But instead of taking it, I reach into my pocket and pull out the engagement ring. His brows furrow. What are you? I press the ring into his palm. Owen, I say, my voice steady despite the tremor in my heart. I can't marry you. His hand freezes around the ring. The silence stretches, thick and suffocating. His eyes widen, the first crack in his perfect composure. What? His voice is sharp now, like steel. What are you talking about? I take a slow breath. For the first time in both my lives I feel powerful. You don't love me, I say simply. And I'm done loving someone who will never look at me. And before he can speak again, before he can shatter this fragile moment of my rebirth, I lift my skirts and walk past him, past the stunned groomsmen, past the murmuring family members, out of the hall and into the sunlight. Each step feels like freedom. The wind hits my face as soon as I step outside the hotel. It's warm and fresh, carrying the faint scent of blooming lilies from the wedding arrangements I'll never stand beside. Sunlight splashes across my skin and for a moment I simply breathe. 3 years of suffocating in silence, of swallowing tears and forcing smiles, gone with a single choice. My heels click against the pavement as I walk away from the hotel entrance. Behind me I hear faint shouts, my mother's voice calling my name, guests gasping, and somewhere deeper in the chaos Owen's cold, commanding tone trying to restore order. I don't look back. I won't. My heart pounds with adrenaline, fear, and a strange, intoxicating sense of freedom. My hands shake, not from regret, but from the sheer weight of realizing I've just rewritten my fate. A taxi waits by the curb, a bored driver leaning on the hood. I hurry toward it, the skirts of my white dress brushing against the dusty ground. He blinks at me as I approach. Miss, are you? Please, I say breathless. Just drive. He hesitates, but something in my face must convince him. The car door clicks open and I slide in, the leather sticking to my bare shoulders. My hands clutch the bouquet I hadn't realized I was still holding. As the taxi pulls away, the hotel disappears in the rearview mirror. My old life disappears with it. I don't have a plan. In my last life after the wedding, I moved straight into the Davis mansion, a cold palace where my laughter went to die. This time I can't go there. I won't go there. Where to? The driver asks, glancing at me through the mirror. I think for a moment, then give him the name of a small cafe across the city. It's a place I used to pass on the bus during college, always meaning to visit but never daring to. It feels symbolic, like the first step toward a life that's mine. The city blurs past the window. Billboards, crowds, and familiar streets flash by. My reflection stares back at me, pale and trembling but alive. Truly alive. I think of Owen standing in that bridal suite with the ring I returned. His gray eyes wide with the first taste of loss. A tiny part of me, a foolish, broken part, wonders if he'll come after me. But I shake my head and laugh softly. It doesn't matter. I'm done living for the moments he might see me. The cafe is nearly empty when I step inside, my dress drawing curious glances. I order a simple black coffee and sit by the window, letting the bitter scent ground me in reality. The first sip burns my tongue, but I welcome the pain. It's real. It's mine. I set the bouquet on the table and watch a petal fall, curling at the edge. My heart aches for the girl I used to be, the girl who thought love meant suffering in silence. Never again. As the sun shifts in the sky, I press my forehead against the cool glass and close my eyes. For the first time in years, I feel at peace. The future is a blank page, and this time I'm holding the pen. Chapter 2, Wedding Day. I don't go home. Home. The word feels hollow now. My parents' house, warm and familiar, is filled with excitement for a wedding that will never happen. I can picture it clearly. My mother pacing the floor, my father frowning at his phone as the Davis family demands an explanation. And somewhere in that chaos, Owen Davis standing like a dark pillar of storm clouds, cold and calculating, except for that moment. The moment I placed the ring in his hand and told him I was done. I wonder what he's doing right now. In my last life, he never knew what it felt like to lose me. He didn't even notice when I slipped further and further away, until death claimed me. Now I've left him before he ever truly had me. A part of me savors that thought. A small, vindictive spark that's been buried under years of heartbreak. The taxi ride takes me to a part of the city I've always loved from afar. A quieter street lined with boutique shops and family-run cafes. It's nothing like the glass towers and cold steel of the Davis Empire. I step out, the hem of my wedding dress gathering dust. The driver gives me a look like he's wondering if I've lost my mind, but I just hand him the fare and walk away. The flower shop on the corner catches my eye. In my last life, I passed it often but never stepped inside. I was too busy chasing Owen, too consumed with waiting for a love that never came. My world was the mansion, the charity events, and the suffocating halls of a marriage built on nothing. I push the door open. The soft chime of bells greets me, along with a wave of floral fragrance, sweet lilies, fresh roses, and earthy greenery. A middle-aged woman behind the counter blinks in surprise at my appearance. Hello, miss, she says slowly, taking in a white dress. Are you lost? I laugh softly, the sound unfamiliar even to me. Maybe I was, I admit. But not anymore. Her brow furrows, but she doesn't press. I wander the aisles, letting the colors and scents wash over me. Flowers are alive, ephemeral yet beautiful, living fully even in their short bloom. I think of myself, of the wasted years, and of the second chance now unfurling like a petal. I buy a single yellow daffodil, a symbol of new beginnings, and leave with a small smile. I rent a tiny studio apartment by the end of the day. It's nothing like the Davis mansion. The walls are thin, the faucet leaks, and the window sticks when I try to open it. But it's mine. I drop my bouquet on the rickety table and sink onto the mattress with a sigh. My dress pulls around me like a ghost of the life I walked away from. For the first time in either life, I feel untethered. No one is waiting to control me. No cold husband is judging me. No empty mansion is swallowing my laughter. I press my hands to my chest and let out a shaky breath. I'm free, I whisper. The phone rings the next morning. I don't need to check the caller ID to know it's my mother. The ringing is sharp, insistent, and filled with the weight of disappointment. I let it go to voicemail. Not yet. I'm not ready to explain, not ready to face the tidal wave of questions, accusations, and disbelief. Instead, I step out into the morning air, the city alive with the smell of fresh bread and coffee. My heart feels strange in my chest, a mix of fear and exhilaration. I have no plan for this new life. No job. No clear path. Only the knowledge that I refuse to repeat the mistakes of my first life. This time I will live for me. It's almost noon when I first see him again. I'm walking back to my apartment with a bag of groceries when a sleek black car pulls up to the curb. The tinted window rolls down and my heart stutters. Owen Davis. Even seated, he radiates authority, his dark hair neat, his gray eyes locking onto me like a hawk spotting prey. Reese, he says, his voice cold but threaded with something I can't quite place. Get in the car. I freeze. In my past life I would have obeyed instantly, heart leaping with hope that maybe he wanted me. Now I hug the grocery bag to my chest and shake my head. No, Owen. His eyes narrow. He's not used to hearing that word. Do you understand what you've done? His tone is low, dangerous. You humiliated my family. You humiliated me. I take a step back, the afternoon sun warming my face. And yet, I feel lighter than I have in years. For the first time since my rebirth, I see it, a crack in his composure. A flicker of disbelief, like he can't comprehend the fact that I'm no longer clinging to him. I turn and walk into my building without another word, my pulse racing. Behind me, the car door opens, then shuts again. But he doesn't follow. Not yet. I know this is just the beginning. I close the door to my apartment and press my back against it, my heart pounding. Through the thin curtain of the window, I see Owen's car idling by the curb. He's still there. Even without looking, I can feel his gaze like a cold weight on my skin. He doesn't come in. He doesn't knock. He just waits. The sight sends a shiver down my spine, not of fear but of a strange, quiet triumph. In my first life I waited for him. Now he waits for me. I set my groceries on the table and exhale slowly. The apartment is silent except for the faint creak of pipes. No footsteps echo in the halls. No commanding voice calls my name. I'm alone, but it's a good alone, a free alone. I make myself a simple lunch, scrambled eggs and toast. In the mansion, meals were grand affairs prepared by chefs, served on cold porcelain in a dining room where I often sat by myself. This meal is humble, but it feels alive, like the first taste of my new life. When I finish eating, I glance out the window. The black car is gone. I don't know why a small pang of disappointment tugs at me, but I ignore it. The next few days pass in a quiet rhythm. I start by cleaning the apartment, unpacking the small bag I brought with me, and walking the streets of this new neighborhood. The flower shop becomes my sanctuary. The owner, Mrs. Hahn, a warm, round woman with laugh lines, greets me with curiosity every time I step in. Back again, runaway bride? She teases on the third day. I laugh softly. Something like that. There's something soothing about the rows of blooms, each one a little piece of fleeting beauty. I linger there longer than I mean to until Mrs. Hahn asks if I'm looking for work. The offer surprises me. I might be, I admit. I could use an extra pair of hands on weekends, she says. Think about it. I leave the shop with a lightness in my chest. In my last life I never worked after marrying Owen. I lived under the Davis name, existing as a silent ornament while the world passed me by. This time I want to live for myself. On the fourth night, I return to my apartment with a small paper bag of leftover bread from the bakery. He's there. Leaning against the black car parked across the street, sleeves rolled up, gray eyes locked on me. My breath hitches. The street is dim, the lamplight casting sharp angles across his face. He looks like something out of a dream, or a memory I tried to bury. Reese, he says, his voice low. I tighten my grip on the paper bag. You shouldn't be here. He takes a step forward, slow and deliberate. You disappeared. Walked out of our wedding. Out of me. His eyes narrow. And you expect me to just let you go? My chest tightens. In another life, those words would have made me crumble with hope. Now they feel like chains I've already broken. Yes, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. That's exactly what I expect. He freezes. The night air is thick between us, heavy with tension and something I can't quite name. For the first time I see it clearly, the beginning of obsession flickering in his eyes. Not love, not yet. But the shock of loss, the realization that the woman he never noticed has slipped through his fingers. He swallows hard, his jaw tightening. I'm not letting this go, Reese. I turn toward the stairs, my voice soft but firm. You already did. In another life you already did. I leave him standing there, the sound of his low exhale following me up the steps. When I reach my apartment, I press my forehead to the door, shaking. Part of me feels victorious. Another part, frightened. As I know Owen Davis. And the more he feels something slipping away, the tighter he will try to hold on. Chapter 3. Returning the ring. I dream of rain again. But this time I don't wake up in a hospital bed. I wake up in my tiny studio apartment with sunlight streaking through the thin curtains and the faint smell of the bakery downstairs drifting up. It's been a week since I walked away from my wedding. A week since I returned Owen Davis's ring and saw his face break with the first crack of disbelief. A week since I tasted freedom and realized I would rather sleep on a lumpy mattress in a creaky apartment than in the king-size bed of that cold mansion ever again. I stretch slowly, savoring the quiet. The phone has stopped ringing as often. I imagine my mother exhausted from pleading and my father drowning in embarrassment. I should feel guilty, but I don't. Not enough to go back. Not this time. The bell above the flower shop jingles as I step inside. Mrs. Hahn beams at me. Ah, my little runaway bride returns. I roll my eyes but smile. I told you I'm not running anymore. I'm starting over. She tilts her head. Starting over means working hard. You ready for that? I nod. By the afternoon, I'm wearing a green apron and arranging tulips in vases. My fingers fumble at first, but Mrs. Hahn is patient and soon the rhythm of it soothes me. The snip of scissors, the cool stems against my skin, the gentle fragrance of life blooming in my hands. It feels symbolic, like I'm piecing myself back together one petal at a time. The doorbell chimes again. I glance up and my stomach twists. Owen Davis. Even in the humble flower shop, he looks out of place, like a storm cloud wandered into a sunlit garden. His black suit is immaculate, his gray eyes sharp, and the energy around him pulls every gaze his way. Mrs. Hahn straightens, startled. Oh, hello, sir. Looking for flowers. He doesn't answer her. His gaze locks on me. Reese, he says quietly. I grip the stem in my hand too tightly, thorns pricking my palm. You're here. Where else would I be? His voice is calm, but there's an edge to it, like steel under velvet. You walked away from me. I glance around the shop, painfully aware of Mrs. Hahn pretending not to eavesdrop. I told you why, I say firmly. I don't want that life. I don't want you. A muscle in his jaw ticks. You returned my ring, he says slowly, like the memory still stings. No one walks away from me, Reese. No one. Something inside me flinches, a reflex from my old life. But I lift my chin. I just did. The words hang in the air like a spark before the fire. His eyes darken, and for a brief, dizzying moment I see it. The first ember of obsession, glowing in the space where his indifference used to be. Without another word, he turns and leaves, the shop door swinging shut behind him. I release a breath I didn't know I was holding. Mrs. Hahn whistles softly. Honey, that man's dangerous. I know, I whisper. Dangerous to my heart. Dangerous to my hard-won freedom. And yet, a part of me, traitorous and foolish, thrums with the thrill of seeing him chase me for the first time. I walk home under the fading sun, the city lights flickering to life around me. When I reach my building, my steps falter. The black car is there. Leaning against it, sleeves rolled to his forearms, is Owen Davis. His tie is gone, his hair slightly mussed. Imperfections that feel impossible for a man like him. My pulse skitters. Reese, he says, voice low, dangerous, and tinged with something I've never heard before. I waited. I swallow hard. You can wait forever, Owen. I'm not coming back. His lips curve into the faintest, humorless smile. We'll see. I walk past him, forcing my legs to stay steady even as my heart pounds. I can feel his gaze on my back, heavy and unrelenting, until I close my apartment door behind me. In the quiet, I press a hand to my chest. Freedom feels like a fragile glass in my hands. And Owen Davis is the storm testing how long before it shatters. The next morning I wake to the sound of knocking. It's steady, patient, almost polite, but relentless. I pull on a cardigan and creep to the door. Through the peephole I see Owen Davis, perfectly composed in a dark suit, as if yesterday's tension never happened. My pulse quickens. I crack the door open a few inches. What are you doing here? His gaze drops to the chain lock. You didn't answer your phone. I changed my number, I say. A muscle in his jaw twitches. I figured. He lifts a paper bag. Breakfast. I stare at him. You brought me food? I know you forget to eat when you're upset, he says as if he knows me, really knows me. But in my last life he never noticed my skipped meals or my lonely nights. I'm not upset, I reply, voice flat. His gray eyes linger on me. You left me at the altar, Reese. I should be furious. Instead His voice trails off and for a moment something raw flickers there. I can't stop thinking about you. The words punch through my chest, leaving me unsteady. In my first life I would have fallen apart at this. Tears, joy, the foolish hope that maybe he loved me. Not this time. I didn't leave you, Owen, I say softly. I left a man who never wanted me. I closed the door. By the end of the week his presence becomes a pattern. I see the black car across the street when I leave for the flower shop. Sometimes he follows me inside and lingers, his tall frame among the pastel blooms, silently watching me work. Other times I catch glimpses of him leaning against the car, speaking on his phone but never looking away from my window. Mrs. Hahn teases me at first, then grows concerned. That man, he looks like trouble. He is, I admit. But I can't deny it. The sight of Owen in my world, chasing instead of being chased, ignites a dark, vindicated thrill inside me. One evening as I lock up the shop, I step outside and find him waiting by the lamppost. Owen, I sigh, exhaustion weighing down my voice. You can't keep showing up like this. I can, he says simply, taking a step toward me. And I will. My chest tightens. Why? He hesitates. His eyes search mine and for once the coldness is gone. As for the first time, I'm afraid. I freeze. Afraid of what? I whisper. Of losing you, he says, voice rough. I didn't understand before. But the moment you walked away I realized what it feels like to be on the other side. To want someone, and know they won't look back. The words are a knife and a bomb all at once. I should feel vindicated. I should feel nothing but satisfaction. Instead I feel the dangerous stir of old wounds, old love. I step back, clutching my bag. Owen, this isn't love. This is regret. And I won't die for it a second time. I walk away before he can answer, the weight of his gaze burning between my shoulder blades. That night I can't sleep. Freedom feels fragile in my hands and Owen Davis is circling closer every day, a storm I can't quite outrun. Chapter 4. The Man Who Wouldn't Let Go. I know he's outside. Even before I peek through the curtains of my tiny apartment, I feel the weight of his presence. Owen Davis, leaning against his black car like a shadow that refuses to leave. He's been here every night for the past week. Sometimes he doesn't even try to talk to me. He just waits, standing perfectly still like the world will eventually bend to his will. Like I will. In my last life I would have opened the door, heart racing with foolish hope. I would have clung to the smallest sign that he cared even if it was just an illusion. But that version of me is dead. I let the curtain fall back into place and press my hand to my chest. My heart still pounds, but it's different now. Not from love, but from the dangerous thrill of knowing that for the first time Owen Davis is the one chasing me. By mid-morning I'm at the flower shop, wearing my green apron and trimming stems under Mrs. Hahn's watchful eye. You're getting better, she says, nodding at the neat row of tulips I've arranged. I smile faintly. It's peaceful here. Peaceful, yes. Except when the tall, scary man is staring through the window, she mutters, jerking her chin toward the street. I don't need to look. I already know who she means. Owen. Who else? She shakes her head. Doesn't he have a job? Or is stalking you his new full-time career? A laugh escapes me before I can stop it. It feels strange, foreign, like something I haven't done in years. He's persistent. Persistent is one word. Obsessive is another. Mrs. Hahn narrows her eyes. Are you going to let him keep hovering? I don't answer. There's part of me, a small, bitter part, likes it. Likes watching the man who ignored me for years finally feel the weight of wanting and not having. That afternoon as I'm sweeping petals off the floor, the bell above the shop door chimes. I look up and there he is. Owen Davis in a charcoal suit, shoulders broad enough to block the light behind him. His presence sucks the air out of the room. Mrs. Hahn raises her brows. Back again. He doesn't answer her. His eyes lock on me. Reese, he says, voice low and steady. We need to talk. I grip the broom tighter. We've talked enough. Not like this. He steps closer, the click of his shoes on the tile loud in the quiet shop. I've let you walk away, but I'm done standing outside your life like a stranger. My pulse jumps. That's exactly what you are now. A stranger. His jaw tightens. For a moment I think he'll lash out, but instead he exhales slowly, almost as if he's trying to hold himself together. Then I'll stay here, he says simply. I'll buy every flower in this shop if that's what it takes to stand in front of you every day. Mrs. Hahn sputters. Sir, that would cost. He pulls a sleek black card from his wallet and sets it on the counter without looking away from me. Start ringing it up. I feel heat crawl up my neck. Owen, stop this. You can't just. I can, he says softly. And I will. That night, I sit in my apartment with the lights off, staring at the ceiling. Owen's face lingers in my mind. Not the cold, untouchable man I married in my first life, but the man who stood in a flower shop and refused to let me go. Part of me feels vindicated. Another part, terrified. Because I know this is just the beginning. I keep the lights off, but I know he's there. The soft hum of an engine reaches my window, steady and low. Owen Davis hasn't left since the shop closed. He's parked across the street like a sentinel, waiting for me to open the door to make the first move. He doesn't understand. I'm done being the one who moves first. I curl up on the mattress, trying to focus on the faint city sounds outside. A dog barking. Distant traffic. The soft rustle of leaves. Then knocking. Not the sharp, impatient knock of someone demanding entry. This is slower. Almost pleading. My breath catches. I stand and approach the door silently, my hand hovering over the knob. Through the peephole I see him. His tie is gone. His hair is slightly mussed, as if he's run his hand through it too many times. And his eyes, God, his eyes, look nothing like the cold man I married in my first life. I unlock the chain and open the door just enough to speak. It's late, Owen. You weren't answering, he says, voice rough like he hasn't spoken for hours. I needed to see you. I swallow. You've been seeing me all week. He huffs a quiet, humorless laugh. Not enough. Not when you won't look at me the way you used to. The words land like a soft punch to the chest. I cross my arms, forcing steel into my voice. Maybe I stopped looking at you because I finally saw the truth. He flinches. Owen Davis actually flinches. Reese. His voice drops, quiet but strained. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know what I'm feeling half the time. But I can't stop thinking about the way you walked away from me. The way you didn't even hesitate. His voice cracks just barely, but I hear it. And for a heartbeat I see him. Not the untouchable CEO, not the cold husband I mourned, but a man tasting loss for the first time in his life. I should hate you, I whisper. After everything. I should slam this door in your face and never look back. Then why don't you? His gray eyes search mine, raw and unguarded. Why are you still standing here? I don't have an answer. The air between us is heavy with all the words we can't say, all the memories from a life he doesn't even know he ruined twice. I take a step back. Go home, Owen. You can't chase me into loving you. For a moment I think he'll argue. But then he nods once, tight and controlled, and turns to leave. When I close the door my hands are trembling. Because no matter how hard I try to deny it, a part of me is afraid of the day I won't be able to. Chapter 5. The Weight of Regret. The next morning the black car isn't outside my window. For the first time in days I wake to silence, with sunlight streaming through the curtains instead of the hum of an idling engine. I should feel relief. Instead, an unexpected hollowness settles in my chest. I roll onto my back and stare at the cracked ceiling of my apartment. For so long I'd imagined what freedom would feel like. And now that I have it, true freedom with no ring on my finger and no cold mansion waiting, I don't know what to do with the emptiness it leaves behind. I force myself to sit up. This is what I wanted. I didn't come back to this day, to this life, to fall into the same trap. I came back to live for myself. The flower shop is quiet when I arrive. Mrs. Hahn is humming as she waters a row of orchids, the sunlight catching on the mist. You look tired, she says, glancing over. I didn't sleep much. He gives me a knowing look. The tall, brooding one again? No, I say. He wasn't there last night. Ah. She tilts her head. And that's why you look like someone stole your breakfast. I scowl at her, but deep down I know she's right. A part of me had grown used to his shadow lingering at the edge of my life. The constant reminder that the man who once never saw me now can't look away. Around noon, the bell above the shop door chimes. I glance up automatically, expecting a customer, and my breath catches. Not Owen. His mother. Mrs. Davis glides into the shop like she owns the air around her. Elegant as always, in a cream coat and pearls, with her sharp eyes taking in every petal and speck of dust. My stomach twists. In my last life she never truly hated me, but she pitied me. I was the wife her son never wanted, the shadow clinging to a man who loved someone else. This time I stand tall behind the counter, fingers gripping the edge to keep steady. "Reese," she says smoothly, as if greeting an employee instead of the woman who left her son at the altar. "So it's true. You're hiding in a flower shop." I swallow. "I'm working here, yes." She lifts an eyebrow. "You walked away from Owen. From the Davis family. From everything we gave you." I meet her gaze. "You can't walk away from something that was never truly yours." The words hang between us, and for the first time, I see a flicker of something in her eyes. Surprise. Maybe even a touch of respect. "Do you know what you've done to my son?" she asks finally. I hesitate, a pang of guilt prickling my chest despite myself. I think he's finally feeling what I felt for years. Mrs. Davis studies me for a long moment, then turns on her heel. The faint scent of her perfume lingers long after the bell above the door jingles behind her. That evening I walk home under a heavy sky, clouds gathering like bruises. My mind spins with the conversation, with the image of Owen's mother standing among roses and lilies, demanding answers I couldn't give. When I turn the corner to my street, I stop in my tracks. He's there. Owen Davis, standing in the drizzle under a street lamp, suit damp, hair sticking to his forehead. No car this time. No barrier. Just him. Something in my chest twists painfully. "You weren't there this morning," I say before I can stop myself. "I thought maybe you needed space." His voice is rough, like he hasn't slept either. But then I realized I couldn't stand not seeing you. Not knowing if you'd look at me, or keep looking away. I clutch my umbrella tighter. "Owen, you can't keep doing this. You can't just linger at the edges of my life, waiting for me to forgive you for things you don't even understand you did." "I'm trying to understand," he says, stepping closer, his eyes glinting under the streetlight. "I'm trying, because losing you feels like I can't breathe." My heart pounds. This is the man I loved for 3 years. The man I died loving even when he never looked my way. And now he's standing in the rain, saying the words I used to dream of hearing. But dreams aren't enough anymore. I turn toward my apartment, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Go home, Owen. Come back when you know the difference between wanting what you lost and loving who I am." I walk away, leaving him standing in the rain, and my chest aches with a pain I can't name. The rain falls harder that night. I sit on the floor by my window, listening to it drum against the glass, and wonder if he's still out there. Part of me wants to check, to pull back the curtain and see if Owen Davis is standing in the downpour like some tragic figure out of a novel. But I don't. I can't. Because if I see him, I might remember too vividly the years I spent begging silently for scraps of attention from that same man. And I can't go back to that. The next morning, the city smells of rain and wet pavement. When I walk to the flower shop, the street is unusually quiet, until I turn the corner and stop short. The front of the shop is covered in flowers. Dozens, no hundreds, of bouquets arranged in neat lines along the sidewalk. Roses, lilies, peonies, tulips. Every color, every scent. It's like the shop exploded outward into the street. Mrs. Hahn is standing at the doorway, arms crossed, half impressed and half exasperated. "Well, your admirer's pockets are as deep as his obsession." I stare at the wall of blooms, my chest tightening. My name is written on a single card placed in the center bouquet, in neat, familiar handwriting. "I'm sorry for every moment I never saw you. Owen." My throat feels tight. He never apologized in my first life. Not when I cried in silence, not when I wasted away in the hospital, not even when I died. And now, this. Mrs. Hahn leans over. "If a man ever did this for me, I'd marry him on the spot." I force a small laugh. That's how it starts. Then the flowers wilt. But my hand shakes as I pick up the card. The ink is slightly smudged, like he wrote it in a hurry, or in the rain. He doesn't show up at the shop that day. Not in the morning. Not in the afternoon. I try to focus on work, arranging new displays and trimming stems, but my mind keeps drifting to the empty sidewalk. By closing time, I can't take it anymore. I step outside into the cool evening air, holding the card he left among the flowers. And I find him waiting by the lamppost. No suit tonight. Just a dark sweater and slacks, his hair still slightly damp from the morning rain. He looks less like the untouchable CEO and more like a man who's been unraveling thread by thread. "Reese," he says, his voice rough but soft. "Did you get them?" I hold up the card. "I did. But flowers die, Owen. Just like the girl I used to be." He takes a step closer, his jaw tightening. "Then tell me how to bring her back. Tell me what to do to make you stay this time." My chest aches. In my first life, this moment was all I ever wanted. But now, standing here with the weight of a second chance pressing against my ribs, I know better. "I don't need you to make me stay," I say quietly. "I need to see if I can live without you first." His breath hitches like I've just knocked the air out of him. And for the first time, I see real fear in his eyes. That night, I sit by the window again, watching the streetlights blur in the rain, and I realize something terrifying. Owen Davis is finally chasing me. But I don't know if I'll survive letting him catch me. Chapter 7. When Actions Speak. I wake to the sound of footsteps in the hall. For a moment, I think I imagined it. But then I remember. Owen said he would wait. I pad barefoot to the door and peer through the peephole. He's still there. Owen Davis, the untouchable man I once loved to the point of self-destruction, is sitting on the floor of my apartment building, head leaned back against the wall, eyes closed. His long legs are folded awkwardly, and his hoodie looks rumpled in a way that must be driving him insane. I almost open the door. Almost. Instead, I walk to the kitchen and make myself coffee, trying to ignore the tight ache in my chest. I can't let one night of stubborn waiting erase years of neglect. By the time I leave for the flower shop, he's awake and standing. "Morning," he says quietly, as if he's afraid I'll vanish if he speaks too loudly. I nod, brushing past him. "You don't have to keep doing this." "I want to," he replies simply. "Until you believe me." At the shop, Mrs. Hahn notices immediately. "He's still here?" she asks, peeking out the window to where Owen leans against the lamppost, a silent guardian among the city's morning bustle. I say, "He's persistent." Persistent is one word. This man is ready to turn into a lawn ornament if it means watching over you. He smirks. "So, are you going to forgive him?" I shake my head. "It's not that simple. He has to prove it." 2 days later, I get sick. It hits fast, maybe from the cold rain, maybe from exhaustion, but I wake up with a pounding headache and a fever that leaves me shivering under the thin blanket. I try to get up for work, but the room tilts and I collapse back into bed. A soft knock comes at the door. "Reese." His voice is muffled but unmistakable. "I heard you coughing. Are you okay?" I groan. "Go home, Owen." The next sound I hear is the jingle of my apartment keys. My eyes fly open. How?" He steps inside, holding up a spare key that had been in my old purse. "You left this in your things from the mansion." I never threw it away. I want to be angry. I want to tell him to leave. But when he crouches beside the bed, concern etched into every line of his face, the words die in my throat. "You're burning up," he murmurs, pressing a cool hand to my forehead. "Why didn't you call anyone?" I close my eyes, exhausted. Didn't want to bother anyone. Bother. His voice tightens. "Reese, I should have been here for you. Always. And I wasn't. I won't make that mistake again." The promise in his tone sends a shiver through me that has nothing to do with fever. I drift in and out of sleep, vaguely aware of movement around me. When I wake again, there's a damp towel on my forehead, a steaming bowl of porridge on the nightstand, and the faint hum of Owen's voice speaking softly on the phone from the kitchen. He's still here. Not as the cold man I married. Not as the shadow chasing me through the streets. But as someone trying. For the first time since my rebirth, I let myself relax in his presence. When I wake again, it's dark. The only light comes from the lamp on the nightstand, casting a warm glow over my tiny apartment. I blink slowly, disoriented, and then my gaze lands on Owen Davis. He's sitting in the chair by my bed, elbows on his knees, head bowed like he's been praying, or thinking too hard. His hair is messy, his hoodie wrinkled, and his expression, softer than I've ever seen it. "You're awake," he murmurs, lifting his head. Relief floods his gray eyes. My voice is scratchy. You're still here. I told you I wouldn't leave, he says simply, reaching for the glass of water on the nightstand. He holds it out to me and I take it, our fingers brushing. The small contact sends a faint shiver through me. I sip slowly, trying to steady my heart. You didn't have to stay. Yes, I did. His tone is quiet but firm. In our engagement, I left you alone too many times. I thought it didn't matter. That you were fine. But now seeing you like this. He swallows hard. It feels like I'm staring at every moment I failed you. His words press heavy against my chest. Owen. I used to think I knew what love was, he continues, voice rough. I thought it was easy, that it meant chasing what I wanted and ignoring what I didn't. But when you walked away, I realized I've never been more of a fool in my life. I had everything and I let it rot in my own hands. The rawness in his voice tugs at something deep inside me. I want to reach out to tell him I believe him, but old wounds whisper caution. I turn my face toward the wall, blinking against the heat behind my eyes. You can't just say these things and expect me to forget the years I begged silently for this. I don't expect you to forget, he says softly. I expect to spend however long it takes, proving I'll never make you feel invisible again. The room is quiet except for my uneven breathing. He adjusts the towel on my forehead with careful hands, and the simple gesture nearly undoes me. This isn't the Owen I married in my first life. That man was cold, distracted, obsessed with someone else. This man is learning how to stay. The next morning, sunlight filters through the curtains. I wake to the scent of congee and the sound of gentle humming. Owen is in my tiny kitchen, awkwardly ladling porridge into a bowl like he's never touched a stove in his life. He glances over his shoulder and catches me watching. A faint smile pulls at his lips, tentative but real. Good morning. I didn't burn the place down. Against my will, I laugh. A soft, cracked thing that feels like the first bloom after winter. That night, after he finally leaves, I sit by the window with the empty bowl in my hands and admit something I've been afraid to say aloud. For the first time in 2 lives, I believe Owen Davis might be capable of loving me. Chapter 8. A public stand. The city looks different now. Or maybe it's me. I walk to the flower shop with a light scarf around my neck, still recovering from my fever, and the streets feel sharper, brighter. People pass by, cars honk in the distance, and yet, I feel the weight of eyes on me. Because the world is starting to notice. It was only a matter of time before whispers reached the surface. The runaway bride of Owen Davis, the woman who left him at the altar, is suddenly the center of attention again. When I arrive at the shop, Mrs. Hahn is already frowning at her phone. You didn't tell me you were famous now, she says, waving the screen. I freeze. What? She tilts the phone toward me. A tabloid headline blares. Billionaire Owen Davis seen with former fiancée Reese Moris. Reconciliation or scandal? Below it are photos. Amy leaving the flower shop. Owen leaning against the lamppost like a silent sentinel. And worst of all, a blurry shot of him entering my apartment building at night. My stomach knots. I scroll further and there it is, her name. The woman he once loved. The one he chased in my first life while I slowly withered in his shadow. The article speculates she's devastated and betrayed by his behavior. A bitter laugh escapes me. Betrayed? He had his heart for years. What does she have to be betrayed about? Mrs. Hahn hesitates. Are you okay? I stare at the screen, at the world trying to twist my second chance into another tragedy, and feel the old ache flare in my chest. I thought this life would be different. I wanted to be invisible, untouchable. But Owen Davis doesn't love quietly. That afternoon, the bell above the shop rings. I look up and my stomach drops. He's here. Tall, beautiful, perfectly composed even in casual clothes. The woman Owen once loved. The woman I died resenting. Reese Moris, she says softly, her voice smooth as glass. So it's true. You're back in his life. I grip the edge of the counter. Not in the way you think. Isn't it? Her gaze sharpens. He waited for me for years. And now suddenly he's chasing you. Showing up in the press like some lovesick fool. I just wanted to see the woman who made Owen Davis lose his mind. Her words cut sharper than I expect. I take a steadying breath. I didn't ask for any of this. I walked away and he followed. That's all there is to it. She tilts her head, studying me, and for a second I see something like fear in her eyes. Then she leaves, perfume lingering like a challenge in the air. I'm still reeling when my phone buzzes. I almost ignore it, but something in me, curiosity, caution, longing, makes me answer. Reese. His voice is tight, urgent. Don't believe anything you see online. And don't listen to her. I only love. He cuts himself off, breathing hard. I'm outside. Can we talk? I hesitate, staring at the flowers around me, at the petals that remind me of all the years I spent unseen. I don't want a scene, I whisper. Then I'll make one if I have to, he says, voice firm. Because I'm done letting the world think you're anything less than the woman I chose. The woman I should have loved from the start. And for the first time I realize Owen Davis is about to go to war with his own past. For me, I don't want a scene. But Owen Davis is the kind of man who creates scenes without meaning to. By the time I lock up the flower shop and step outside, the street is no longer quiet. A cluster of reporters waits across the road, cameras in hand, murmuring to each other as I appear. My heart lurches. I never wanted to be this kind of story. A scandal, a headline, a piece of gossip for people who will never understand the years I spent invisible. And then I see him. Owen Davis. He's leaning against his black car in a dark coat, impossibly composed despite the chaos swirling around him. But when his eyes find mine, his expression softens, and for a moment, it feels like the city disappears. The reporters swarm. Mr. Davis. Are you and Miss Morris back together? Why did she leave you at the altar? Is it true your former girlfriend confronted her today? Flashes pop. Voices overlap. My pulse spikes. I want to run. To vanish. But Owen strides forward, placing himself between me and the press with a protective intensity I've never seen before. Enough, he says, voice cutting through the noise like steel. The crowd stills. He reaches for my hand, hesitates, then takes it, his grip warm and steady. You want a statement? Here's your statement. I freeze as he lifts our joined hands for the cameras. His voice drops, firm and deliberate. I love Reese Moris. The world goes silent. Cameras click. Someone gasps. My heart pounds so hard it hurts. In the past, he continues, I was blind. I thought love was something you chased. I didn't realize it was standing right beside me, waiting, hurting, and I let it slip away. I won't make that mistake again. His voice cracks on the last word, and that tiny imperfection shatters something inside me. The reporters erupt with questions, but I can't hear them over the rush of blood in my ears. Owen turns to me, his hand tightening around mine. I don't care what anyone says, Reese. I only care if you'll let me try, really try, to love you the way I should have from the start. His gray eyes are open, raw, and unguarded in a way the whole world can see. In my first life I begged for this moment. In this life it terrifies me. I take a shaky breath, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if I can trust this yet. You don't have to, he says softly, loud enough for only me to hear. Just let me keep proving it. And for the first time, standing in the middle of the street with the world watching, I let him hold my hand without pulling away. That night my name floods the headlines again. But for the first time in 2 lifetimes, it's not as a forgotten wife or a silent shadow. It's as the woman Owen Davis finally chose in the open. And even though my heart is still guarded, a small, stubborn part of me begins to believe him. Chapter 9, Breaking the Last Chains. The next morning the world is loud. My phone buzzes non-stop with notifications. Articles, messages, even strangers tagging me online. Everyone has an opinion about Owen Davis's grand declaration. I don't read most of it. I can't. I sit at my tiny kitchen table, fingers wrapped around a mug of tea, and try to breathe through the chaos. All my life I wanted him to see me. Now the entire city does, and it feels like standing under a spotlight I never asked for. A knock sounds at the door. I already know who it is. When I open the door, Owen is there, freshly shaven and crisp in a gray suit, but his eyes are softer than I've ever seen them. Morning, he says gently, holding out a paper bag. Breakfast. I remembered you like congee with a soft-boiled egg. The simple gesture makes my throat tighten. He remembers. Come in, I say after a pause, stepping aside. He enters quietly, setting the bag on the counter like he belongs here. And for the first time it doesn't feel strange. We eat in silence for a while, the soft clinking of spoons the only sound in my little kitchen. Finally, he sets his spoon down. I want to tell you something. About her. My chest tightens. You don't have to. Yes, I do. His gaze is steady and for once there's no hesitation in it. I met with her this morning. I told her that whatever we had, it's over. Completely. That it's always been over, I just didn't see it until I lost you. A small, stunned breath escapes me. I gave her closure, he continues. And I gave myself one too. I'm done living in a world where I don't choose you first. The words sink into me slowly, warming places I didn't realize were still cold. That evening, he drives me to a quiet overlook above the city. The skyline glows in the distance, lights flickering like stars caught in glass. The wind is cool against my face, carrying the faint scent of rain and pine. Owen leans against the hood of his car, watching me instead of the view. I used to think I had everything, he says softly. Money. Power. A life people envied. But the truth is I had nothing, because I didn't have you. My heart twists. I look at the city lights to keep from drowning in his gaze. You had me for 3 years, Owen. You just didn't want me. I was blind, he says, voice rough. And I live with that regret every day. But if you give me the chance, I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. The wind tugs at my hair and for a moment, I let myself imagine what it would be like to finally believe him without fear. Then his hand brushes mine, tentative, seeking permission. And this time, I don't pull away. I let his fingers curl around mine as the city lights glow below us, a fragile bridge forming. The wind is cool against my face, but my hand is warm in his. We stand there for a long time, fingers entwined, neither of us speaking. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, the silence between us feels safe. I close my eyes and let the night air fill my lungs, letting go of a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for years. Finally I speak. Owen, do you know what it was like for me? Loving you the first time? My voice trembles, but I keep going. Every day I told myself if I just loved you harder, longer, quieter, maybe you'd turn and see me. I waited until my heart turned to dust. His fingers tighten around mine, his voice breaking. I know. I see it now. I hate myself for it. I died thinking I wasn't enough, I whisper. My throat aches with the confession I never made in my first life. I died thinking you never once looked at me with love. When I open my eyes, Owen is staring at me like I've just ripped his chest open. He steps closer, gently cupping my face with both hands, his thumbs brushing away tears I didn't feel falling. Reese, he says hoarsely, if I could tear out my heart and give it to you, I would. I can't change the years I wasted, but I swear, I see you now. I will never stop seeing you again. The sincerity in his eyes makes my chest ache. For so long I dreamed of hearing these words. And now, standing under the night sky with his hands warm against my skin and regret heavy in his voice, I finally allow myself to believe. I lean into his touch, letting my forehead rest against his chest. His arms circle me slowly, carefully, like he's afraid I might break if he holds me too tight. I'm scared, I whisper. If I love you again and lose you, I don't think I can survive it twice. His arms tighten just a fraction, voice low and steady in my hair. Then I'll spend every day making sure you never have to survive that again. I'll never let you feel unloved, not in this lifetime. The words settle deep in my bones, soft and certain. We stay like that until the city lights blur and my heart stops trembling. When he drives me home later, he doesn't kiss me. He doesn't need to. Because somewhere in the quiet between our hands brushing and our eyes meeting, I let go of the last chain of my anger. And for the first time in 2 lives, I let myself hope for a future with Owen Davis. Chapter 10, A Love Rewritten. The morning is quiet. Too quiet. After everything, the reporters, the fever, the confrontation with his past, I almost don't know what to do with silence. I make tea and sit by the window, watching the early sunlight spill across the street. My heart is steady now. Not racing. Not breaking. Just waiting. Around noon there's a soft knock. I open the door to find Owen standing there. Not in a suit, not in the polished armor of the man the world knows, but in a simple white shirt and black slacks. His hair is slightly messy, his gray eyes calm but intent. Come with me, he says quietly. I hesitate only a second before nodding. He drives me to a place I never expected to see again. The apple. The same chapel where, in my first life, I stood trembling in a wedding dress, heart hopeful and terrified as he stared past me, already thinking of someone else. The memory hits me hard, but the building looks different in the soft afternoon light. Warm. Inviting. Owen steps out first, then offers me his hand. I take it. Inside, the pews are empty and the air smells faintly of lilies. At the front of the chapel, a small table holds a bouquet of white roses and a simple gold ring. I turn to him, heart pounding. Owen, what is this? He takes a slow breath. I wanted to face the place I failed you. The day I failed you. My chest tightens. I was supposed to give you the world that day, he continues, voice low and raw. But I gave you nothing. I left you standing alone in more ways than one. I can't erase that, Reese, but I can rewrite this moment. If you'll let me. I swallow hard, tears stinging my eyes. He kneels. Not with the cool detachment of a man doing his duty, but with the humility of someone who's lost everything and is willing to bare his soul to get it back. I'm not asking you to marry me again today, he says. I'm asking for your heart. Freely. Willingly. Without the shadows of the past between us. I'll spend every day earning it if I have to. The world blurs as tears finally spill down my cheeks. Owen, I whisper. He looks up at me, and for the first time in 2 lives I see no pride, no distance, just love and devotion laid bare. I kneel too, because I can't stand above him when he's finally meeting me where I've always been. I never stopped loving you, I admit, voice shaking. Not even when it hurt. Not even when I died. But this time, I'm loving you for me. Because I believe you see me now. Relief crashes over his features and he pulls me into his arms. I sink against him, sobbing quietly as the weight of 2 lifetimes lifts off my chest. We don't exchange rings. We don't need to. Because this time I don't feel like the unloved wife or the forgotten girl. I feel like a woman whose heart is finally being held with both hands. The next weeks pass in a way I never imagined in my first life. Quietly, gently, like the world itself is letting me breathe again. Owen doesn't push. He visits the shop, sometimes bringing coffee, sometimes just standing by the counter and chatting with Mrs. Hahn while I work. He takes me on walks, drives me to places I'd never bothered to see before, and listens when I talk, even if it's only about flowers or the weather. It's in these small moments that I realize. This is love. Not grand gestures, not desperate chases, but consistency, warmth, and presence. One evening, as we sit on my small balcony with mugs of tea in hand, I lean against him without thinking. The city hums below and the sky is soft with the last blush of sunset. I used to think love had to be painful, I murmur. Owen turns his head slightly, brushing his lips against my hair. And now, it feels like breathing, I whisper. He exhales slowly like he's been holding his breath for years and finally lets it go. I'm not perfect, Reese, he says quietly. I can't erase the past. But I promise for the rest of my life, I will love you in a way that never makes you question it again. I close my eyes, letting the warmth of his words settle in my chest. And then for the first time in 2 lives I say it without fear. I love you, Owen Davis. The change in his expression is almost boyish. Relief, wonder, and the soft glow of a man who has finally been forgiven. He cups my face and kisses me, slow and reverent, like he's memorizing the shape of a future he once thought he'd lost. It's not the wild, dizzying kiss of first love. It's the steady, unshakable kiss of a love reborn. Months later, when I move out of my tiny apartment and into the new home we chose together, there are flowers in every corner, not as apologies but as celebrations. White roses for new beginnings. Baby's breath for promises kept. And tucked into the kitchen vase, a single red tulip, the flower of a love declared at last. I stand in the doorway watching Owen carry in the last box, and I think of the girl I used to be, the one who waited, begged, and died with an empty heart. She's gone now. In her place is the woman who finally learned to walk away, and in doing so found the love she deserved all along. Epilogue: a love that stayed. 5 years later. The morning sun spills through the kitchen window, warm and golden, painting everything in soft light. The smell of pancakes fills the air, and I laugh as a small hand tugs at the hem of my sweater. Mommy, Daddy's burning breakfast again. I glance toward the stove where Owen Davis, billionaire, former heartbreaker, and now the most hopeless home cook alive, is squinting at the pan like it personally betrayed him. I'm not burning it, he grumbles, flipping the pancake that is in fact a shade too dark. I'm caramelizing it. Our daughter giggles, clapping her syrup-sticky hands. I scoop her into my arms, pressing a kiss to her hair. The scent of baby shampoo and maple syrup wraps around me, warm and familiar. Sometimes when the house is this peaceful, memories of my first life creep in, faint shadows of that lonely mansion, of the cold silences that followed me everywhere. But they don't hurt anymore. Because the man standing at my stove is not the man I married in that life. This Owen Davis is mine completely and irrevocably. After breakfast, he sneaks up behind me while I'm rinsing plates, wrapping his arms around my waist and pressing a kiss to the curve of my neck. Still love me, he murmurs against my skin. I laugh softly. Even if you set the kitchen on fire. Noted, he says, nuzzling my cheek. Then quieter, I never stop thinking about how close I came to losing this. Losing you. I turn in his arms and meet his gaze. His gray eyes are warmer now, gentler, touched with the soft weight of the years we've rebuilt together. You didn't lose me, I whisper. Not this time. He leans down, kissing me slow and sweet, and our daughter squeals in mock disgust before scampering off to the living room with her toy bunny. Later, when the house is quiet again and sunlight pools on the wooden floor, I pause by the window and take in the life I never thought I'd have. Not the mansion. Not the cold, distant luxury. Just this. A warm home. A child's laughter. A husband who learned to love me in the only lifetime that truly mattered. I smile to myself, heart full, and whisper the truth that has carried me through 2 lives. Sometimes love isn't about chasing. It's about staying. And this time Owen Davis stayed.